Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to specifically target my fellow singers with this message, although I think any of us can use this message even if you're not a singer. But particularly today I want to focus in on this notion that singers are not musicians. This seems to be somewhat of a bias out there in the world a little bit. Everyone doesn't think along those lines, but I have found that too often people in general and musicians and even vocalists themselves treat their instrument as though it's not an actual instrument and therefore do not consider themselves to be actual musicians, simply because I think when we think about a musician, we think of someone who plays an instrument. And because our instrument is housed inside of our bodies, we don't think of ourselves as, like I said, actually being musicians. So this message is particularly to my fellow vocalists today. And I want to strongly encourage you to learn as much not only about your instrument, but also, if you don't already read music, learn to read music, take a free community college class, whatever the case. You don't have to become a virtuoso, but the more you know about the artistry, the more you know about your art that you are creating, the more control you will have and the more input and the more that you can put into it and the more that you'll get out of it and the more that you can share with your audiences. I have seen too often, and it just drives me crazy. I've seen too often musicians who treat vocalists as if they're not equipped to be a part of the conversation that they may have among each other. And what I mean in particular is, and I don't mean that they're doing it on purpose or that they mean to be biased or anything like that, but for example, I'll see a vocalist who gets on stage with a band or a group or fellow musicians, and they speak to each other about what key they're in, the chord they're starting on, the modulation that they'll do, and at what point, blah, 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 all kinds of musical conversation. And then when it comes to actually, okay, now we're going to start the song, or now we're going to record the song, or whatever the case may be, and and it's time to include the vocalist, it'll be, here's your note, here's where you start, I'll give you the intro type of thing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that in and of itself, but the whole conversation and the whole idea that, well, the vocalist is not going to really understand what we mean by modulation and all that, all the other musical conversation, is in and of itself a bias and an assumption. On the flip side, unfortunately, there have been, in my opinion, too often vocalists who contribute to that idea unknowingly. I don't mean that they realize that they're doing it, but unknowingly are contributing to that idea because they don't know their basic theory. They don't know. There are a lot of vocalists who do. Don't get me wrong. There are many vocalists who do, but oftentimes I do see, or sometimes I do see vocalists who will say, well, I don't know what that note is, or I don't know what that key is. Just give me the chord and I'll come in. So they're relying. We all use our ears. We all rely on our ears, but to rely exclusively on your ear only, without having the tools and the background and the study behind it to understand what this key is, what that key is, what does it mean by a modulation, what does it mean by a natural minor as compared to a harmonic minor, etc. I think it unfortunately, or I know unfortunately, that it leaves vocalists out of the conversation, and therefore you're kind of cut out of your ability to control your own musical session, so to speak. And even if it's not your own musical session, your aspect, your part of what you contribute. So I encourage my fellow vocalists as much as possible to, number one, think of your instrument as an instrument, because it is. Treat yourself as a musician. hone your skills. You're already working on it in terms of singing and your breath and breathing and phrasing and all of that. But like I said, you don't have to be a virtuoso in it, but learn to read, know your basic scales. Learn to read just, simple music. It will do a lot to open your eyes. It'll contribute to opening your ears as well. And we want to combat that image, that false idea that we're not musicians, that we're not going to be able to join in the language, the conversation, etc. So that's my message today. It is, like I said, geared toward vocalists. Specifically, certain instruments seem to lend themselves more than others to the idea of, I guess, leaning almost entirely on your ears and not developing the other knowledge aspects of the theory behind music. I see a lot with pianists also, where they're marvelous on their instrument. They're excellent, in terms of playing and everything. They really learned to play by ear, and that's the only way that they know how to play. They may be very, very good at it, but if you put a piece of music in front of them, they couldn't tell you what's in front of it. That's got a lot of pitfalls attached to it, because you could create a piece of music, you could write the music, in terms of composing it, coming up with the chords, the melody line. Same thing with vocalists. But if somebody notates down, writes down, using theory and notation and key signatures and all that, what you just created, and you can't even recognize it yourself, they could steal it right out from under you, and you have not as much, you wouldn't be in as strong a position to say, no, that is my song. I'm looking at it. I can read it. That's my piece of music. And people have had their songs stolen, as we know. So certainly, copywriting your songs, we know that's important for protecting what you create. But also, like I said, learn to read music. That's just basic to calling yourself a musician, to calling yourself an artist. And so that's my strong stance today. And lest I leave out my, I don't want to leave out my non-singing fellow professionals or semi-professionals who also use their voices. It may not be a matter of learning to read music if you're not using your voice for music, if you're a public speaker, for example. But the same idea applies as far as learning as much as you can about the profession, the work that you're doing, the art that you're creating. That may mean strengthening the business side of it. Let's say that you are a poet, a fellow poet, a spoken word artist. You want to get as strong as you can in terms of not only protecting what you create, but also making sure that your name is on what you create, making sure that the business parts of what you do are strong. In terms of shoring up the business parts, you want to make sure that, let's say that you're booked to perform a certain place, certain venue. You want to make sure that goes as smoothly and as professionally as possible. So it's the same kind of thing, only on the business side of it. All of us need to make sure we're strong on that as well. And if that's not your strong suit, you want to make sure that you surround yourself with people who you trust, who have your best interest at heart, and who are strong in that area and can help to educate you. So that's my message for today. I really, really want to see us, meaning vocalists and singers, men and women. I want to see us in terms of artists of all kinds, including pianists and others. And I want to see us, as well as women as well, also be as much in charge of your own artistic vision as you possibly can be. And we're all still learning, we're all still growing, but a fundamental, just a basic part of that for a singer is learn to read notes on a page. So that's my strong admonition, that's my strong encouragement for all of you today. God bless. I hope that this was helpful to you today, and I enjoyed speaking with you and sharing a little information that I hope you find valuable. Thank you so much for joining me, and give me a thumbs up if you found this helpful. Feel free to comment below. Let me know what you thought of this information. Let me know if you'd like more information along these lines as well. And I definitely invite you to subscribe also. So thanks so much again, and I'll see ya in the next video. God bless. Bye-bye.